Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is Gary Stotko of the Restaurant Technology Guys. Our webinar today, Cutting the Cord, Wireless Gone Wrong and How You Can Do It Right. My co-host, Jeremy Julian. Hi, Jer.
Good morning, Gary.
And Mr. Ryan Williams. Hi, Ryan.
Good morning.
Folks, our special guest today, Patrick Purcell, Director of Business Development here with Techmark Global Solutions. Hi, Patrick.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Gary.
And Keith Morris, Senior Director, Strategic Relationships at Aerohive. Hi, Keith.
Howdy there, Gary.
Hey, Keith, give us an idea how you and Aerohive work through your business model of partnerships and product delivery to the marketplace.
I'm happy to do that, Gary. So Aerohive is a cloud-managed wireless networking company, and we go to market with our solution partners, partners such as CBS and with Techmark Global Solutions.
Excellent. Thanks, Keith. Just to let everybody know, we're all in 3 separate locations. In case we have any audio problems, I'll apologize up front. We've got Patrick coming to us from Boulder, Colorado, and Keith coming to us from Dallas, Texas, and Jeremy, Ryan, and I are here in Irvine, California. So let's jump in. Today's agenda: who needs to implement wireless into their business? Excuse me, what can go wrong with wireless? And finally, how to do wireless right. We've seen the changing role in Wi-Fi, Jeremy, with the hospitality industry. We know that the difficulties in managing Wi-Fi and the costliness was a huge effect on us in the past.
Yeah, no, and I mean, for any of you guys that have been in the restaurant industry for any length of time, you guys will know that wireless, especially done right, was definitely a costly endeavor. Technology continues to get better. It continues to change as time has gone on, and I could give you guys war stories of Wi-Fi deployments. You know, 10 years ago, we actually had a sales rep that worked for us that was really, really heavy into wireless, and so he used to push it constantly, and ultimately it ended up just being really difficult for us to get a stable point-of-sale environment going with the older technology that's out there, and so it ended up being very expensive. The technology was hard to deploy. You needed a lot of certifications, a lot of people that really kind of understood what they were doing to do it right, and even then, it wasn't bulletproof. That's one, and then the second thing, you know, we talk about Wi-Fi and hospitality. It continues to be more and more prevalent just in the world that everybody expects you to be able to have Wi-Fi to be able to jump on, and so you've got guest Wi-Fi as well. So not just point of sale, but you've got consumers looking to be in your restaurant, be in your cafe, being able to jump on and be able to do work while they're on their lunch hour and things like that. So if not deployed properly, you're gonna have a really hard time. And so later today we'll be talking about what it's going to take to make all of that happen properly.
And luckily for us, things have changed. We've got advancements in technology and managed services that are making this a more rock-solid endeavor.
Yeah, and again, you know, I alluded to the fact that technology old and costly, and some of that older stuff made it really, really tough to make a stable business class environment for business use, whether it be to take orders at the table or deal with consumer stuff, or, you know, consumers wanting to get on Wi-Fi, doing mobile inventory, mobile ordering, line busting, all of that stuff has gotten so much easier and so much better. So Keith, talk to us a little bit about what the Wi-Fi enhancements have been over the last 5 or maybe 10 years, and how it's just gotten so much easier to configure and get up and running.
Oh, absolutely. So in general, quality of service, being able to provide a stable Wi-Fi, a stable and reliable Wi-Fi environment. In particular, if you think of a lot of the retail and restaurant hospitality type locations, now really they require multiple access points to be able to connect all the devices from the back of house to front of house and so on. And that ability for, in particular, point of sale type devices to be able to roam from one access point to the other without dropping their connection. That's absolutely an enterprise class feature and a capability that is, well, it's required. You think about, you know, point-of-sale applications such as the CBS North Star running on the iPads. That requires a level of Wi-Fi service and connectivity that is way beyond just guests accessing the internet for guest access.
Yeah, those are all great points. Thanks, Keith. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about how you can deploy a wireless solution to make it bulletproof for your environment.
And that's a perfect segue for us, because the three common errors are picking the wrong equipment, improper installation, and then poorly configured and/or poorly managed equipment, creating a challenge unto itself. Yeah,
no, and we'll hit on each of these points specifically about what are the things that I see and Keith sees and Patrick sees when they go out and look at people's environments. So
let's start with equipment. What's the difference? We've got consumer versus enterprise. The basic definition would be professionally installed, professionally managed, but it's more than that.
Yeah, no, and I know we gave Ryan a call out, but I love this graphic just because it's got kind of the blending of a home on the left and then a restaurant environment on the right. But with all of that being said, there's a difference between the type of technology that you're going to potentially put in your house to be able to browse your Netflix and watch videos of your kids versus the stuff that you would want and need within your restaurant. The way we've kind of defined the consumer grade electronics, anything that you could buy at your local consumer electronics store, those types of devices are great for home use if you're not needing to have business class quality of service. But the restaurant is obviously a very different environment. Keith, talk a little bit about some of the things that you see within the restaurant environment that might be a little bit different than you might have at your home that are going to cause a difference in your wireless environment.
Well, absolutely. So particularly in a restaurant environment, typically you're going to find a lot of different types of Wi-Fi devices. You know, you're going to have neighboring retailers and restaurants. You know, you might have a hotspot next door. You're going to have a lot of different types of consumer devices as well that are in there. And you have to think about, you know, the wireless space. This is an unlicensed frequency that we're using for our Wi-Fi. You know, whether we're talking the good old A and N technologies or B and G technologies, BGN technologies, being able to adapt to noise that could be created by things like microwave ovens, which we know there's plenty of those in restaurants. They operate in the same frequencies. So having an enterprise class solution means that it can adapt to the noise. It can change channels. It can change power settings. And on top of that, we have to think of this from a security standpoint as well. You know, built into an enterprise class technology is that, you know, level of deep packet inspection firewall, which can really separate and secure traffic. Because as we know, that's one of the biggest, hottest buttons out there right now is how do I keep that secure traffic, you know, my point of sale traffic secure, and at the same time provide maybe a free guest Wi-Fi experience for my guests. Just not going to find that in the consumer grade.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for those clarifications, Keith, because I think they're all great points.
And then the next item is location. Location, location, location. The challenges that restaurants face with access to available space to set this stuff up, and then the right way to do things. And that installation is paramount in getting the configuration set up and ready to roll.
Yeah, I mean, embarrassingly, I'll even tell a quick story. Keith was here in our office recently and would share the types of antennas that are out there, and you know, we're technology people, and we didn't even understand the types of wireless technology that we had and how it was installed. So, Keith, you know, some of the things that you guys are finding, and even for us that we find when we have people that have deployed their own wirelesses, is where they put the access points matters. How they mount the access points and how the antennas are mounted matters. So talk a little bit about that. And I know we can't go super deep as to what those things are, but what are some things that people need to understand when they're placing their access points?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's absolutely critical. You can take the you know, super high class technology, and if you improperly install it, you know, it's really not going to do you any justice. Some of the things I see in particular, if a access point has built-in Wi-Fi antennas, one of the mistakes I see commonly with those is that I'll find them, installed either, behind a cabinet or below a sink or maybe even on the wall. If it has built-in antennas, it has internal Wi-Fi antennas, those antennas are vertically polarized and they're designed to be installed on the ceiling. So that's one of the things I see very, very commonly is just improper mounting of those. And also the antennas that have, are the Wi-Fi access points that have the external antennas, the ones with the little dog ears kind of sticking up. Very often I'll find those either installed on the wall or below a counter, and the antennas will be laying flat or kind of pointed in a dog-eared fashion. Those antennas they're vertically polarized and they're designed to be mounted in a vertical orientation. So, it's very common mistake to see them folded up all the way, to where they're flat against the ceiling or against the wall, and that's not the correct way to do that.
Yeah, no, and again, those are some of the things. Where you mount them and how you mount them, depending upon the type of access point, is something that's going to change your signal strength and what your quality of your wireless is, for sure.
So proper installation segues us right into configuration. And Patrick, I know you see this out in the field, configuration and the security aspects around who's participating in the Wi-Fi community set up within a restaurant. You've got consumers, employees, and business.
You're right, Gary. It's the need to segregate the customer traffic from the employee traffic from the business, the POS traffic is critically important. Anyone on the webinar today who may have tuned in for one of our previous PCI sessions will remember we've always talked about segregating traffic, segregating networks in a restaurant so that credit card data is segregated and protected from all other traffic over the networks in the restaurant, so that you're reducing as much as possible access to the credit cardholder environment. So we too often see restaurant operators put install a Wi-Fi network that is not segregated from their POS network, that is not segregating different types of traffic that are coming over Wi-Fi, and in spite of everything else they may be doing to protect cardholder data and meet their PCI compliance responsibilities, they sort of shoot themselves in the foot just by the way they've configured their Wi-Fi network. So it can be done the right way easily if thought is given ahead of time to, from the moment a restaurant operator thinks about installation through actually installing and turning up the Wi-Fi network. It can be done the right way easily and be a contributing factor to a sound PCI environment, or it can subvert the best PCI effort. So you make a good point. Security concerns around Wi-Fi are addressable, but not something to overlook.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add to both your security conversation as well as another point related to configuration. Most of your consumer class wireless devices don't have that network segmentation piece that you can even do the network segmentation. Some of the consumer devices do, but most don't. Secondarily, the other thing that I think is important about configuration is the quality of service. With the enterprise class wireless devices, you can prioritize things like point of sale data to go first and take your consumer wireless hotspot and give that a lower priority and use less bandwidth. And so that's something that Patrick's company, as they manage these wireless devices from Aerohive by way of CBS, can do is they do an evaluation of your business, and if you want guest access, they can tone it down and throttle the bandwidth usage so that you know that you take priority with the point of sale traffic.
So appropriate, secure segmentation is paramount.
Yep, very much so.
And then
Yep.
some of the opportunities, thanks, Patrick. One of the things that is super exciting, and we're seeing it time and time again, Jeremy and I saw it when we were in New York, is the opportunities with enterprise wireless. The illustration that you guys see on the screen shows what a consumer-grade product will offer you versus what an enterprise-grade product, and that just puts a stamp on all of the items that Patrick, Jeremy, and Keith had brought up about the differences of the capabilities of the product. But most exciting for us and for the hospitality industry is the analytics. This is where this is all going.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of scary is probably the wrong word, but it's an interesting phenomenon that based on the wireless that's on your consumer devices that you've got in your pocket, whether it be a tablet or a phone, they're always out kind of talking to the access points. And Keith, talk to us a little bit about kind of some real-world cases of how you've seen retail analytics change people's business methodology and or the way that they go about engaging with their guests.
Absolutely. So yeah, I've seen a lot of different examples around using retail analytics. So there's a couple different ways. I can use an example of a quick serve restaurant where they were really concerned because they had noticed that during peak hours they had long lines, and customers were complaining of serve time. So what they did is enabling retail analytics. They're able to track. Basically, think about it. We all carry our smartphones now, and whether we're connected to a network or not, our phones are sitting there beaconing. So imagine these people standing in line. We're using the AeroHive solution to kind of gather this information. We can tell how long people were standing in line, and what they did is, using that information, they were able to deploy a line busting application using a handheld point of sale scanner, an employee who would actually go out into the line and take folks' orders ahead of time so that the kitchen was able to go ahead and start preparing their food. It made for shortening the wait time enormously. Another example is a particular retailer, and they were really looking to get a handle on their marketing spend. They wanted to be able to quantify, if running an advertisement, whether it's TV or radio advertisement, what was the demand? Did they see an uptick in traffic versus waiting for months on end to try to get point of sale data and look at trending? They were able to do that immediately. So they could see that after running an ad the next day that their foot traffic to the store increased, and the amount of folks that came to the store, went in the store, and stayed in the store increased. Also looking at the signage out front, if putting banners and such, did more people stop and then walk in than before, where they were just walking by? So there's just enormous amount of opportunities, and folks in hospitality are really paying attention, particularly those with the marketing budgets and looking to spend that money wisely.
Great examples. Thanks, Keith. Anything to add to that, Jeremy?
Yeah, I would say, it's something that's an interesting phenomenon that's just starting to come out, and we'll probably hear more about it. I mean, Gary and I will be at NRF again this year in January, and it was definitely a hot topic that was coming up for the retailers, and I know that hospitality will be soon to follow. And so with the right kind of wireless technology, you'll be able to do some of these analytics to be able to understand what's happening with consumer behavior and move people around the store where you want them to be, and drive traffic, drive purchase behavior and things like that through just the technology that most consumers don't even know that's happening within their pocket when they have their cell phone turned on.
Right, absolutely. So we're getting into the Q&A session, or just before we get into the Q&A, let me do a quick recap. But before I do that, down in the bottom right-hand corner, if you guys have questions, please feel free to shoot them across. We'll have, I'll turn this over to Ryan here in a moment, and we'll answer some of the questions that have come in. we've focused on picking the right equipment, starting with enterprise products versus consumer products, thus allowing you the knowledge, the know-how, the capabilities of products that are built to work in your environment. Secondly, proper installation, setting stuff up right.
Yeah, it's huge. Hugely important. If it's not set up properly, it's not going to work.
And then finally, the configuration and managing of the equipment, where Techmark comes in and manages the capabilities of that product from their partner in Aerohive, thus ensuring you guys some higher level performance. So let's get into the questions here. What do you got for us, Ryan?
I've got a couple questions that came in. One of the questions that came in is, where is the firewall in the setup, in a wireless setup?
Keith, you want to take that for us?
Yeah, sure, happy to do so. So with our product, the firewall is actually built in. It's an integral component with every access point, every branch router, every switch we make. So the firewall is built in. We're not sending our information over to a firewall. Our access points are a firewall, and this is enterprise class firewall with deep packet inspection.
And can you give me a little bit more color? I understand, but I think it'd be great for our listeners to understand what deep packet inspection actually means when the traffic's going across. What does that mean, and what is the access point actually doing?
Yeah, so if you think about it in this terms, if you're using a device, and let's say you're using it for point of sale, with the deep packet inspection firewall built into our access point, we can identify that as point of sale information, as point of sale real high value information, and we can apply higher levels of service. So for instance, let's say you're using the same device and you're just accessing the internet, doing some web browsing. Well, that traffic is not as critical as the point of sale traffic. So we're able to classify traffic and direct it and apply a quality of service. Also allows us to apply very extensive and deep levels of segmentation of your traffic. So from a security standpoint.
That's great. Thanks, Keith. I thought it would be good for our audience to understand a little bit about what deep packet inspection means.
Definitely.
So another question that we had come in, one of our viewers, they've been hearing about AP-type devices that can send guests to one circuit, like cable, and the point of sale to something like T1. Is that becoming more common?
You want to take
that question for me? Yes.
Yeah.
We do see that quite a bit. We've seen everywhere from folks in retail and hospitality that are putting in complete air-gap networks for guest network, where they're doing it separately, or quite frankly, using the enterprise class features. They're able to decide, is guest traffic, does it go out this particular route? Does it go maybe leverage an LTE connection or a DSL connection? And does the secure point of sale leverage a T1 or some type of private circuit? That having that capabilities, that kind of rolls back into the other question, which was, where's the firewall? Well, having that firewall on the device allows us to do that. We can identify by device, by user, by application, and route it down the proper path, its proper internet connection.
Yeah, that's huge, and I would concur that we're seeing a lot of our customers that are considering having multiple connections within the building, one for guests and one for, but one of the challenges that I've seen with some of our customers is that they'll deploy two wireless networks. And Keith, just to add on to that question, what happens in a space when you deploy two wireless networks with two different types of access points, or even the same types of access points, but broadcasting different signals and things like that for guests and staff? Doesn't that create some potential issues out in the wireless space?
Well, it certainly can. When you think about the unlicensed spectrum where the Wi-Fi lives, where this Wi-Fi we're talking about lives, it really is a shared media. So think about it in terms of, in this conversation. If I'm speaking, obviously it's difficult for anybody else to talk at the same time. Well, Wi-Fi kind of works the same way. So even if it's, an access point that's not even on the same network, it's occupying the RF space with its transmissions. So the more transmissions, particularly on Wi-Fi on the same channel, the more crowded the environment, and it kind of slows everything down. It can cause some real issues. You have interference from other devices. So, if you carefully plan, you might be able to get away with it. But really, having that ability to adapt and change channels also can help. But it's not a good standard practice. It's usually better to try to limit the amount of over-the-air or Wi-Fi traffic in a space.
Thanks, Keith.
So another question that came in, what other data is included in the analytics capabilities, and how is this visually represented to me that I can make actionable decisions based on the data?
Patrick, do you want to take that one?
Certainly. So the data that's collected is randomized data, if you will, around the presence and the movement of each device that's broadcasting a Wi-Fi signal in the restaurant. When I say randomized, there's a lot of concern these days around privacy issues and, do I dare take my phone into a restaurant or a store because they're going to know exactly who I am and invade my privacy. The technology that does the analytics randomizes the MAC address, the identifier on each phone, so that the specific identity of the owner of that phone isn't known. But really, all of the movement, all of the time spent in the restaurant comprises the data that's gathered and then analyzed and reported by the analytics package that we provide as part of the service. The way that those reports are presented is through a very clean, easy to understand web portal that provides very actionable analytic reports on a lot of the things that Keith was mentioning earlier. How many people are coming into my restaurant, how many are nearby outside but not coming in, how long are those customers staying, where in the restaurant, which areas are they going to, and for how long, how often do they come back. We don't know the exact identity. We don't know that John Smith is attached to a particular phone, but we can know that a particular phone or tablet comes back a week later or a month later. So repeat customer data is gathered that way. So it's really the whole analytics thing is just the process of gathering all that presence information and then deriving actionable data from that which has been warehoused. So it's a lot of data that gets broken down into very easy to understand reports that are available at 24/7 through this web portal to the restaurant operator to look at marketing opportunities, to look at all sorts of opportunities to leverage more knowledge about who's coming to the restaurant and what they're doing there.
Good. Thanks, Patrick.
And I think we have just about time for one more. We want to be sure not to keep you guys up, keep you tied up too long. But as I'm just starting out, a question came in, as I'm just starting out, what kind of steps do I take to get all of this going?
You want to take that one as well, Patrick?
Yeah, happy to. I think just sort of to preface what I'll try to keep as a brief response, Wi-Fi has gone from a nice-to-have technology to a must-have to really now a mission-critical technology. If you've got a POS system that's using wireless terminals and handhelds and iPads and such, you know, Wi-Fi is no longer, boy, it'd be nice if we could give some internet access to our customers, to now it's a foundational bit of technology in the restaurant, no different than your cash register used to be. So given the new importance on Wi-Fi, you know, it's something not to be taken casually. So, you know, we always suggest anybody contemplating a Wi-Fi deployment or looking to upgrade or enhance their Wi-Fi, ask for help. We almost never find a customer that has Wi-Fi expertise on their staff. Often there'll be IT expertise, but not really specific Wi-Fi expertise. So, you know, we always suggest ask for help. Find a trusted advisor that can help you understand the role you want to see Wi-Fi play in your business. Someone who can help you do a survey of the restaurant and the location to really determine, going back to location, and the problems that people go through poor location and poor installation. You know, where should Wi-Fi devices be deployed? How should they be deployed? Again, it's an ounce of prevention sort of thing. A little bit of planning up front from a Wi-Fi professional can make Wi-Fi a good and contributing piece of technology, and poorly done, you know, brings poor results and a bad experience. So we always suggest ask for help.
I'm saying, to that point, it doesn't need to be super expensive. You know, I would say don't go into it thinking that you're going to spend, you know, tens of thousands of dollars to get Wi-Fi deployed into your restaurant. You know, done poorly, you're going to have a bad guest experience and or a bad point of sale experience, or both. Yep. Done properly, it can be done quite affordably and done well.
No, perfect.
Yeah, you know, that's really a good point, Jeremy. We've talked a lot today about consumer grade versus enterprise class technology, and I know when a lot of us hear enterprise technology, we think that's got to be expensive. And in the case of Wi-Fi, it's really not. The price of Wi-Fi equipment has come down substantially, and you know, it's affordable to install the right kind of Wi-Fi. So excellent point about the affordability.
So setting the foundation starts with picking the right equipment, proper installation, and then finally configuration and management of that equipment. And from there, it really lays the foundation for restaurateurs to utilize and enhance their own business use cases and the consumer use. So as Patrick had said, in asking for advice, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. I popped up onto the screen contact information for us. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Keith, Jeremy, Ryan. Appreciate everybody's time today. If you do have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, give us a call, or shoot us an email, and we'd be happy to steer you through the maze of making the right selection and getting your guys' selves set up for success. Our next presentation, Restaurant Technology Guys Live with North Star Order Entry, will be September 23rd. Please go out and visit our blog. We've got a brand new blog. We would love to get some feedback, get some dialogue going, restauranttechnologies.com. So with that, thank you to all my guests and participants, and wish you a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.